What's good, everybody? So glad that you're here for this week's Vlogstock Friday. I need to just pull together something. I need to do something that's going to be a bit quick, a little bit of fun, something that's tutorial-y, because I haven't done a tutorial kind of a vlog for a few weeks now. So yeah, I thought today's an excellent opportunity to do something in After Effects.
This is how we do it.
If you're going to do blemish removal or something like that in After Effects, then there are some really amazing ways to do it by really dialing in. I mean, you can rotoscope around the face and all of the skin elements that you need and do a full track matte of that. Unfortunately, a lot of us, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of us don't have the time to do that. So it's a bit of a hack. It's imperfect. I'll let you know that right now. It's imperfect, but this is what I've learned. I'm pretty sure that it was Andrew Kramer that I saw it with originally. I can't remember if it was Creative Cow or Video Copilot though. It was one of those. I'm giving full props to the dude that taught me, and I'm sure many thousands of other people as well, how to do this simple kind of hack for blemish removal in After Effects. So I've got my footage here. It's just a little clip of Marie and I from our time in New Zealand, and yeah, if I just do this, there you go. It's a little bit mushy, sorry about that. Now, first things first, what I want to do is actually duplicate my layer, which I've done that. Control D to do that. If you don't know how that shortcut, just hit enter, which is then going to allow you to change the layer name, and I'm going to actually call this matte. And the reason why will become apparent in a little while. So come up to the effects control for matte. Now come over to effects and presets, and we're actually just going to begin to type in threshold, because we're going to take this CC threshold RGB and drop that onto the layer. Looks kind of psychedelic and funky, doesn't it? Now let's boost the green all the way. Come on, 255, dude, work with me. And the blue, 255, all the way. So it's just red and black. When you're using a matte, it's black and white. And so we're basically, what I'm trying to do is pulling out as much of the other colors as possible, so it can just be duotone. And then we're going to play around with it so that it goes, we can transform the red to white. And that will basically give us the capacity to have a matte. We'll drop that. Actually, no, that's way too much. So I just want to try to focus on the face. I already know that because of the brightness of the whole shot, it's not going to work perfectly. But look, if I decrease that, you can see it drops. So I'm going to increase it. Yeah, okay, I think that's pretty good. Maybe let's go 195, say. There's a little bit of the sky that's going to be getting it, but it's mainly our faces that are still highlighted red, which is exactly what we need. So making sure matte is selected, go up to the effects tab and come down to color correction and hue and saturation. And we're actually going to desaturate this 100%. Okay, so it's now gray and black. And the next step is also another color correction. Come down to levels, and this is basically, we're just going to boost the whites. Okay, and now you can see it's black and white. That looks pretty good. Looking pretty good indeed. Yeah. Alright, so that is the matte. We've created it. 3 really simple steps. Same thing in Photoshop. Actually, it's the same thing that I did in After Effects before with the tilt shift effect. That's what's happening here. So the next thing we're going to do is go layer, new, and go and have an adjustment layer. These are things that I've learned in playing around with After Effects for a number of years, and I don't want to come across as condescending with this. If I'm just sharing the stuff that I know, and if you already know it, fantastic, kudos to you. If you don't know it, then hopefully it's something that is a helpful little tip. And the tip when it comes to adjustment layers, if you don't know, is that when you apply an effect to an adjustment layer, it affects all of the layers that are beneath it. What I'm going to do, because I don't want this to affect the matte layer, I'm actually going to pull this adjustment layer underneath the matte layer there. I've got track matte options. Now if I press the F4 button, that's going to toggle over to the other side where you can change 3-dimensional space and motion blurring and all those kind of things. So that's another little shortcut for you. F4 will get you between those 2 options. And for the adjustment layer, I'm going to click on track matte, and I'm actually going to make it a Luma matte, and it's matte. That's the name of the That's the name of the file that we're going to be using. So you can see now that matte, the video file, has been switched off, and the adjustment layer is now pulling information from that, going, okay, so Shane, when you're applying effects to me, I'm only going to be showing them in the areas of the matte that are white, which is fantastic, because you don't want this to actually affect the dynamics and the details of the hair, or other bits like the eyes when they're open, and the landscape here. It's got a lot of lovely detail. You don't want to lose that. So yeah, it's great. Really, really simple way to get around this. So let's come back. Actually, side note, let's come back. Let's turn the matte back on for a minute. What I actually want to do to that is to blur it. Because having a little bit of a blur on this, it overall is going to help with the next step. So let's get to that first. Effect, blur and sharpen. I'm just going to do a fast box blur. I think I want to repeat the edge pixels, and maybe I'll do, let's say 3. Yeah. We'll do 3 and we'll see. If it's not great, we'll come back to it. So let's have a look at that afterwards. All right, so we'll switch that layer back off, click on the adjustment layer, and now comes the fun part. Effect, noise and grain, and we're going to remove grain. Okay, and click on preview, and we want to have the final output so that we can see what it is actually doing. And if I just jump back into 200% and move over to my top of my head, that's not looking too bad. I mean, it's not great. This is where you start to dial the things in. So we are now reducing the noise, and we're only reducing the noise in the white part of the matte. And if I do something stupid, like say increase that noise reduction by 30, you're going to really see just how plastic that skin kind of looks now. Yeah, you really don't want to do that. I mean, you kind of, it's a balance. It's a balancing act. You want to push this part because we're going to kind of correct it with the next step, and it's useful. So you need to find the balance for your project. For me, having it at 30 is way too much, so maybe I'll, just for the sake of argument, let's go to 10. Let's go to 6. Yeah, okay, I think 6 is alright. 6 isn't looking too bad. Now, what do you notice about this particular shot at the moment? If I switch the adjustment layer on and off, so that's on and that's off. Anything you're noticing? What you should be noticing is that there are portions of my face that are not being affected at all, and that actually includes parts of the skin, and that's because it's imperfect. That's what I said at the very top. It's not a perfect solution, so what we kind of need to do is to massage it a little bit more. So now that we've removed the grain, what we need to do is actually reintroduce grain. And I know that sounds cray-cray, right? But there's a very good reason for it, and it's because when After Effects introduces the grain, it's much more uniform, and that's one of the things that's going to help just give that even skin tone in the video. Effect, noise and grain, add grain, change the viewing mode to final output. If I go to 30, something super ridiculous, and hit enter, you're going to see what happens. Enter. There you go. You can see exactly where the matte is applied on my face at the moment, and where it's not, and all of the hair. If I just do this, all of my hair is fine. All of Marie's hair is fine. Her clothes, my clothes, they're all fine. The facial hair is fine. It really is just the large portions of our face, just smoothing that out. But obviously being an intensity of 30 is way too much. So we just need to drop that down and play around with it until it matches the bits of the skin that aren't being affected, if that makes sense, so that it looks uniform. It kind of blends in with the original a bit more. I think that 2 is probably too little. Yep. 3 maybe. Okay, 3's starting to get there. Maybe let's have a look at 3.5. Let's move to a different spot in the timeline. Yeah, Maybe we'll go 3.2. Okay, I think that's reasonable. Certainly workable enough for the tutorial. So these are the parts where you can just have at it. You can really work on it and kind of dial it in as much as you want for the footage that you're creating for your content, for your project, whatever. For the sake of the tutorial, that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'll render out a final copy and I'll put them side by side and you can judge for yourself. See what you think. See whether or not it's something that might be useful for you in your projects. I like it. I think that it's a fun little thing to kind of have tucked up your sleeve. I'm going to render this out for you and you can check it out in about 3, 2, well, how about now? We release content every week here at Waiting to Be Seen, as well as a little bit in between. And if this kind of stuff is interesting for you, and you know, you want to join us on this journey as we're pushing towards a year of weekly vlogging at the very least, then yeah, please consider subscribing this week. Click on the big old red button down below that says subscribe. Click on the notification bell right alongside that, and you know what? YouTube, they do the rest. They'll let you know as soon as our content is released every time we release it, which is a fantastic feature. I love that. I find it really useful personally, so please consider doing that. And if you have liked today's video, if you've enjoyed this little tutorial, then please consider giving us a thumbs up down below. And on that note, I am done for this week. It is Shane from Waiting to Be Seen. Thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you've had a great week this week, and I hope the week ahead looks pretty good for you too. And I hope to see you next Friday for more Vlogstock Friday with Waiting to Be Seen. Thanks so much, and we'll see you around. Boom!
That's gonna leave a mark.
What?